Now, not to be critical to all you swimmers out there, but if you're gonna wear a shark suit, wear a shark suit. Hello everybody, Sparkster1701 here, and we're going into our third year of Pretender Month, and I thought I'd kick it off with the Autobot Naval Commander, Splashdown. Splashdown was released in 1988. He would be available as the second wave of the regular Pretenders, so he would be released late in 1988, and he would be discontinued by 1989, and we would not get a replacement for him. Now, the interesting thing with Splashdown is they give his function as a naval commander, but when you look at the Generation 1 line, the Transformers didn't have a whole lot of naval figures. I mean, in the Pretender line, you had Splashdown here, plus his buddy Wave Rider. Then you'd have to look earlier in the series to find more. In the sense you'd have Sea Spray, the hovercraft, and Broadside. That was a triple changer. One of his modes was an aircraft carrier. And then aside from the one character in the rescue squad that became a hydrofoil, that's it. That's the entire Autobot Navy. So Splashdown here is in command over naval operations with four other guys. Not a very impressive force, I must say. But at any rate, as we said earlier, Splashdown is part of the second wave of the Pretenders. The second wave for the Autobots, they went with a animal motif here on their chests. Groundbreaker, who was shown during my first year of doing this, had like a bear or a cat on his chest. Sky High, who is yet to be shown, has a bird of prey. And Splashdown here features a shark. I like the fact that they incorporated the shark motif as well onto his belt. So that gives you the lower row, the lower section of teeth. And it does look imposing in some ways, but it also looks silly if you ask me. But at any rate, we'll take a look at the Pretender shell a little later in the video. I'm going to start instead, as usual, by taking a look at the robot. Which is about what you expect from the first wave of Pretenders, a rather skinny-looking robot. But he does have a fair amount of articulation on him. You can turn his head all the way around, so that's always nice. He does have a joint at the shoulder, so you can rotate his arm fully at the shoulder. He does twist at the hips, so he can pivot like so. There is a joint at his hip as well, so you can raise the leg up like so. There is a small joint in the knees, but really doesn't allow you to do a whole lot with it, as you can see. And there, of course, is a joint at the ankle. So he does have quite a lot of posability going for him. And as you can also see, he can clearly aim his gun. Okay, now, let's transform Splashdown into his alternate mode. And of course, first thing to do is we have to remove his gun. Then we raise his arms straight up like this into an I surrender pose. Then we're going to fold his feet down, and then we turn his head like so. Then we fold up. They say you fold up his legs, but his legs don't fold up very well in this position. Should we have rotated the body more? Yep. Instructions seem to neglect we got to rotate him at the hips too. Then fold the legs up. Then you turn him over like so. Then you'll take the shield piece and it will attach to this hole in the back of his head. And then of course you can mount the gun on the back of it. And there is his alternate mode, a hovercraft. Looks kinda stupid, doesn't it? Well, as far as these go, this is about par for the course, especially for the naval vessels out of the Pretender lineup. They never really did come off looking like something that would be seaworthy. So, that's a major problem. A lot of imagination definitely comes into play with this guy. I mean, you can slide him across a smooth surface like this table, but seeing as underneath him here, you can see he's got no wheels, just hollow inside legs, so he slides good on the smooth table, but if I were to put him down here on this brand new carpet, he's not going to go very far, if at all, so kind of wasted potential on this one. Okay, let's go for the other mode, putting him into the Pretender shell. Hopefully that won't look quite as dumb. To do that, we start by folding down his feet. Then you're going to take the arms at the shoulders and fold the shoulders back onto his backside. Like that. Try to keep his legs straight while we're at it. And now we'll get the shell over here. Pop the shell open. Just drop him here into the front side of the shell. Make sure he's all nice and flat. Line up the tabs with the back half and just lower it on. Press him all together. Snap shut. And then of course we'll put the belt on to help keep the shell closed. Mount the helmet. And then for full accessories, we've got put the large gun in the one hand. Put this spear in the other one. And of course, for a little added protection, we can mount the shield right here on his shoulder. And of course, a little added bonus fun if you want to. You can mount the small gun there. Don't know exactly how that would work, but you got it. And here is Splashdown, fully decked out in his Pretender armor. And needless to say, I kind of like this mode better. Of course, I do have a penchant for sharks, so I may be a little bit biased on it, but oh well, what can you say? It happens. Now, of course, as is typical for the large Pretenders like this, the articulation is only in the arms. You can rotate the arm all the way around. Of course, when you do it like that, you bump the gun on the side of the leg, cause him to drop the gun. But otherwise, I think he looks pretty impressive in this mode. Yeah, it's my thoughts anyway. Okay, take a look here at all the loose pieces that are available for Splashdown. Fair number, not quite a whole lot. Of course, the maximum goes to Groundbreaker. But at any rate, here's the rear section of Splashdown's shell. It's got a lot of mechanical bits going along here on the back. I would like to presume these are a couple of nozzles to help aid in swimming when in this mode. Then, of course, we got the front side of the shell. It's interesting to note here that on the arms here, they left the bulk of the arm in this very ugly tannish colored plastic, but his fists are painted silver. Don't quite understand that, but I think it works in the long run. Of course, you got a couple of stickers here on the kneecaps. The shark detail here on the center of the chest, I like this. I like this a lot. And of course, you got the head. And as is typical on the Autobot Pretenders of this type, there's a lot of paint wear on the face, especially the nose, from the helmet coming off and on frequently. And of course, speaking of the helmet, here's the helmet. Rather strange looking helmet, but kind of goes along with the shark motif, especially with this fin here on the back. I don't think that'd look quite as imposing on the surface of the water, you know. Da-dum, 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 da-dum. Jury's still out on that one. And of course, also we have his belt. Now that it's off the figure, you can clearly see the continuing of the lower jaw for a shark motif here on this. When I first got this as an adult collector, I think I laughed for a good while over this. I just found it so irritatingly cute, is probably the best way to put it. The only thing to check for is keep an eye here on the ends. Since these are thinner plastic, they might be broken from repeated removal and attachment, especially if you don't have the shell just exactly closed. And of course, we got the melee weapon. Looks more like a spear, but the instructions refer to it as an electron sword. The only real complaint I have with it is the post here on the end is just almost too big to fit in his hand. So it's kind of either this is too big or the holes on his hands are too small, because it doesn't really allow it to go in very far. So he ends up, like you saw in the video, he practically is holding it out like this. And you know, in a sword fight like this, if you're holding your sword very little like that, all it's going to take one good blow and goodbye to your sword. And next we have the large gun. This is the Pretender Shell's gun. The instructions list this as a harpoon gun, and yeah, in some ways I could see that. Kind of a science fiction-y type of harpoon gun. It doesn't look too bad. Of course, it leaves you to wonder about this bit hanging down here at the front. You know, is that a foregrip to make this a two-handed weapon, or is this where the actual firing comes in? Then that leaves you to wonder what in the heck this piece here in the back is for, that he actually uses to hold it. But other than that, it doesn't look too bad. in many ways, it kind of evokes the shark motif that he's going with, so kind of fits. And we also have the small robot's gun. The instructions simply list this as a blaster. Of course, we all know blasters are the guns commonly used in Star Wars. So would we say the Force is strong with this one? Probably not. And then, of course, lastly, we have the shield. As you saw earlier on the two modes, this is the hole where the blaster can be attached. On the back side of it, there's pretty much nothing. It's hollow, just the post to connect it to the toy. And that, my friends, is all the loose parts. Moving right along now, we will take a look at his instructions. This was the style they were going with for the Pretenders. The first page would be the shell armor, and then the second page would feature the robot. And then you get a 2-page spread to cover everything he came with. And then you start with how to arm him, and then how to transform him into the vehicle. Okay, the instructions do say to turn top of robot, so I guess I just didn't read it right. My bad. Alright, here we finish the transformation, and then now start putting him into the shell. And then, of course, put on the stickers. And then on the last page here, we have clip the robot points. Notice that they don't have anything for the rub sign. The rub signs were phased out in 1988. And then, of course, down here, how to read your tech specs. But we're going to do one better for you guys, especially for those of you who are around and saw the Robocon haul video. We've got the box. This was the first thing I bought at Robocon this year. No, this is the second thing I bought. First thing I bought was the Street Fighter set. This was the second thing I bought. Probably the best 20 bucks I dropped there at the con was to get the box. And I must say, the box looks okay. I mean, the picture there of the three of them together is kind of nice. Just would have been nice if the vehicle mode would have come out looking more like how it does there in the picture. But at any rate, here at the top of the box, get the abridged version of transforming him. You see, even up here, that version doesn't even look anything like this down here, so I don't feel so bad about how mine turned out. And we got here the sides. Sides more or less show the same thing. Same thing down here at the bottom. Just get a nice close-up of it. Now, while the instructions listed the sword as an electron sword, they listed here as electro sword. Get up close, you can see that. And instead of a blaster, the gun is listed as a photon blaster. So, obviously, the people that wrote the stuff here and the instructions are not the same people. And we go around here to the back side, and you can see the mural for 1988, which put a heavy focus on the Pretenders. And, of course, the return of Optimus Prime as a Power Master. And, of course, over here at the bottom right, you got the barcode and the robot points. Despite the size of the toy, Splashdown here was worth only 2 robot points. And we'll take a look at the tech spec itself. It's done up in red to signify he's an Autobot, even says Autobot, and it features the same 3-character image that's found here on the front of the box. It gives his name as Splashdown and lists his function as Naval Commander. His motto is, outflank your enemy and you won't have to outgun him. A hard-living, hard-hitting, wind-torn soldier. A veteran of battles on 10,000 oceans on 1,000 worlds throughout the universe. Almost sounds like this guy could be related to Cop. At home on water, mercury, even liquid lead. Outer shell armed with long-range, armor-piercing harpoon gun and electro sword. And this time, electro sword is hyphenated, unlike how it is here at the bottom of the box. So obviously, nobody knows exactly what this sword is. Robot and hovercraft modes armed with photon blaster. So I guess it's photon blaster. Outer shell composed of high-density armor impervious to corrosive liquids and strong enough to withstand underwater depths of over 30,000 feet. Transforms to hovercraft with maximum speed of 210 miles per hour. Hold on a second, there's somebody at the door. I hate campaign season. Anyways, let's take a look here. We lay the decoder over the grid, and let's take a look at his vital stats. It lists his strength as 7, his intelligence 8, his speed is 6, his endurance is 7, his rank is 8, his courage is 9, his firepower is 7, and his skill is 8. So, it appears then that Splashdown here is a very powerful warrior, and likely a worthy addition to the Autobots. But now we get down to my final thoughts. What do I think of Splashdown? Truth be told, Splashdown is one of those that I'm kind of on the fence about. And I'm trying to withhold my personal bias on him due to the fact that I am a huge fan of sharks in general. But I think more or less the toy falls mostly into the middle tier. Now, I mean, the Pretender Shell mode, it's pretty awesome. I love it. And nothing's going to change my opinion on that. The robot, it's okay. It's nothing to get excited about. The hovercraft mode, it looks stupid. It does not look anywhere near as cool as it did in the drawing on the front of the box. That looked better. What the toy actually becomes, no. That doesn't look anything close to it, and doesn't really come off as a hovercraft. So it's kind of, the robot's almost a total write-off. The shell, the only real improvement I would make to it is to allow the fists to hold the sword better. So like I said, he's holding it out there a little too far, and any skilled sword fighter would be able to take that out of his hands with no effort whatsoever. As for the lore, well, Splashdown pretty much fits the role of a naval sailor. The only problem is since he's a commander, he's often tasked with leading missions, and in some cases he tries to take over the leadership role in a mission, even though he may not yet have fulfilled his part of the mission yet, or is trying to order around other Autobots that are in a combat theater that he really doesn't have any experience or enough merit to give those orders. It's a little hard for a naval Autobot to give a lot of orders to land-based Autobots, since the terrain isn't anywhere near the same. But they do say the lore does set him up to have something of a rivalry with the Decepticon Finback. So it's nice to see that they at least connected, that there's at least a couple that are connected in the lore a little bit, or seen as enemies to each other, so that kind of works. I kind of like that notion. But overall, for the toy itself, it's a middle tier figure, as I said earlier. The robot's more or less a write-off, especially with how bad the alternate mode is. The shell's pretty good, save for the fact that he can't hold the sword properly. And he does have a function that is rather unique to the Autobots. Somebody with leadership is definitely a welcome addition, but only if he's really doing something valuable for the group. And as I stated earlier, with only 4 other aquatic-based Transformers in the G1 line, that's not saying a whole lot. And that concludes my review of the Generation 1 Autobot Naval Commander Splashdown. If you liked the video, leave a thumbs up here on YouTube. Don't forget as well, hit the subscribe button down below and ring the bell so you'll be notified of future videos when they are posted. And also, please consider sharing your thoughts of Splashdown in the comments section down below. This is Sparkster1701 saying catch y'all later.